happy Sunday. So, I wanted to start sharing my testimony. I know I said a while back that I was going to start talking about it, but I mean, but share little things here and there, but not as a whole. Um, so yeah, let's get into it. So back in October, 2021, yeah, October 2021, I did a Daniel fast because, I don't know how you guys feel about the state of the world right now, but I do believe that we're living in end times. Um, there's a lot of things going on, and I had questions for my Heavenly Father, okay? I was raised not to ask questions. I feel like being raised in church, it was just like, oh, you don't question God and all this stuff. And I'm like, now I'm an adult. I'm like, why not? Because when I ask, He gives me answers. He gives me answers. So, there was just a lot going on. I'm like, I don't understand. Like, what do I do? Where do I go? Like, all of this other stuff. And so, I felt like I needed to fast to really get, like clear answers and clear direction. And I did. I actually did it with a few friends. I did it with two friends and then my cousin. Well, she's my friend too, but just to give you the context, it was with family and two friends. And we did it together. And some people, so at the end of the day, it's like fasting is actually abstaining from food. But I do believe that the Daniel fast does give results. That's because you're eating clean food and putting it in your body. You're not like eating like contaminated stuff or, so your body's able to, it like cleans out your body internally, but it enhances your spirit man because you're killing your flesh. Because a lot of times we don't realize how much food has control over us. And if you're not careful, food can actually become your God, and that's idol worship. And that's a whole nother thing. But that's just something I learned, that I learned that, I just wanted to share. So I did this Daniel fast and I'm like, oh, I'm plant-based, right? Easy. No issues, whatever. But then I felt in my spirit, no agave syrup. Okay? No agave syrup. All right. I can do that. The hardest thing was giving up that agave syrup. Because, so the thing was, right, doing a Daniel fast wasn't really a challenge for me. What I meant to say was Daniel fast is more of a consecration. That's what the part I forgot to say. But, yeah, but the Daniel fast is typically how I already eat. Because, I'm plant-based, whatever. So I'm like, all right, so what can I do to make it different? And I really feel that was the Holy Spirit, like, yeah, no agave syrup. So I said, I'm fine. I'm not going to have agave syrup. Man, I was going through it. It was funny, though. It was funny. Like, obviously, I survived. But I didn't realize how much I had an attachment to agave syrup. Like, I was in the kitchen making date syrup, like my own date syrup, because I didn't want to buy any sweetener. I said, if there's anything sweet, it's going to be me naturally sweetening it. Yeah, that date syrup was, my tea ain't taste the same. Like, just, it was a mess, but I survived. And I got a lot of answers. Like when I tell you I got a lot of answers, I got a lot of answers. The first thing was, one of the things, I should have wrote this down ahead of time so I didn't miss nothing. That I was going to be moving. I won't be there. I won't be in Jersey much longer. Where I was going, I had no idea. The other thing that was revealed to me was, and I'll never forget this part, because I was driving and I was at the stoplight about to turn into my complex, and I immediately saw an image in my mind, and Abba basically told me that he was going to teach me to have that walk on water type faith, because living in the world we live in now, if your faith is weak, all I can do is pray for you. Like that's it. I don't know what else to say about it. But he told me he was going to increase my faith, but have that walk on water type faith. Because when you have that walk on water type faith, it's like you keeping your eyes on Christ. You really keeping your eyes on Christ, because as soon as you take your eyes off of him, you start to see everything else around you. So I think it was Peter, right? When he was on the boat and he went and walked on water with Jesus, whatever, he stepped out, he was fine. As soon as he looked away, he started to sink and started to panic and stuff like that. So it's like, well, the panic, and then that causes the person to sink. So right now, there's a lot going on. So if I don't keep my eyes on the Messiah, I ain't trying to drown. Okay? I ain't trying to drown. Ain't nobody got time for that. I can't even swim in real life because I didn't trust the swimming instructor. So clearly trust is a part of that process too, because we have to trust that Yah will supply all our needs. Well, at least I have to trust him that he will supply all my needs. As long as I'm obedient. Actually, obedience is the next thing. I kept feeling a now or never in my spirit. A now or never. I'm just like, now or never. Now or never. That was another thing. I just knew that it was going to be a change for me. One that it's just going to be like, I don't know, different. Like, I'm really going to walk out my comfort zone. So I know I have to walk in obedience, because I used to always hear that obedience is better than sacrifice. Obedience is better than sacrifice. And I'm like, okay. But then, like, for me, I have to ask questions and make sense of things. And, and then just thinking logically, I'm like, well, if I'm being obedient to Yah, and that's me putting my own flesh aside, like, that's me being submissive to him. But if I sacrifice something, right? Let's say, for example, I have my phone. I'm like, you know what? I don't want to talk on my phone anymore. I'm not talking on my phone. I gotta talk on my phone, but like social media, I'm not gonna do the whole social media thing for whatever. I'll give it up for a month. Okay, whatever. That's a sacrifice, you giving it up. Maybe you don't want to eat sweets. That's a sacrifice. But is Yah calling me to do that? No. But when he says, daughter, do XYZ, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if I can do that. Obedience is how I tell him I love him. And that was just something that I had to come into. So it was obedience. Or learning how to be obedient and what that looks like. The other thing was, I really should have written this down. Okay, so I'm not going crazy. I got them all down. It was the walk on water type faith, the obedience, and then moving out of state. So I still didn't know where I was going. I was just super excited because I was getting answers. And I, at that point, actually, because during the summer, I decided that I didn't want to be in Jersey anymore. But I just never thought it would actually be a reality. I really never thought that it would be a reality for me because, excuse me, I've never made huge life changes like that, you know? So I'm like, what would that even look like? Well, it was a reality. So my excited hype butt called my cousin like and told him, told her, well, the both of them, her and her husband, that I was like, I'm moving. I don't know where I'm going yet, but I'm moving. I started packing up my apartment, like, y'all. I started packing up my apartment. Like, I was legit packing stuff up. So what I did was, things that I typically don't use a lot, I went through the kitchen. Things that I that I don't use, I packed them in boxes. Every time I order from Amazon, I save the big boxes. I was serious. And then, mind you, I took a vacation off from work to get this done. But I had a lot of vacation time anyway. And then majority of the time, I actually work from home. So I really barely took off from work. And I can make my own schedule. So I really, really had extra time. But yeah, I'm packing up my apartment, whatever. And then I'm like, wait a minute. It doesn't really work like that. I don't even know where I'm going. But I was just super excited. Then I heard North Carolina. And then I was just like, well, why North Carolina? Because I just want to make sure that I'm not just making up stuff in my mind. And it makes sense because one thing I said is I don't mind having a small home, but I want land. You know, that's more important to me. And then I'm like, well, the South. Okay, that makes sense. And I want to live somewhere that's slower anyway. Then the other thing was I have family here, you know? So it's like at the end of the day, I really won't be alone. And then the other part with the family is my cousin who like I'm really, really close with, like I can really we can relate on a lot of levels, you know, and we walk in this narrow path together, you know, so I'm just so grateful to have her. I love her, I love her, I love her. And if she sees this, I love you, sis, I love you. But anyway, yeah. And you too, bro. I love you too. But after that, I was just like, all right. But then there was some other things going on in the world. I ain't going into detail. But then I'm like, all right, if something happens, what if I have to leave? Blah, 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 blah. And I don't know. It just started to stir up a lot of confusion in me. And then I'm like, okay, what is happening right now? And I know something about myself that I always struggle with is decision making. Because I'll make a decision and go back on it. Make a decision, go back on it. And I said, no. Let me go right back to the main, what was the first thing? Went back to that. So then I'm like, okay, if I'm moving, I'm going to need a job. And I'm going to need a stay at home position because ain't no way I'm moving and not having a work from home job because it's just more convenience. I don't know. I just already knew that it had to be that way versus me coming out here looking for work and then doing that whole thing. So I would say about like November, I started looking, applying to all of these jobs. I applied I applied to 70 places, 70, like it was crazy. And let me see, I got frustrated and I was like, all right, this is taking forever. I stopped for a few weeks. I stopped looking. And then I said, no. I think it was maybe like a week, or maybe like 2 weeks, I think. I stopped looking. I'm like, no, stay on it. Gotta stay consistent. Stay consistent. Boom. I did it. Kept going. Then, now I did have some interviews like in between it, but it was nothing that stuck out to me. And the other one, I don't know, I guess they didn't want me. But I'm actually glad I didn't get it because I think that would have been too much anyway. I just never heard back from them. So then I got an interview with a telehealth company, and I was like, okay, all right, cool. And I got it. And it was just totally different because I've never had a contracted job before. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like, so that was new for me. That was very, very new for me. But it allowed me to move, and it actually enhanced me in so many ways. That's another story. But I love it. Like, I love it, love it, love it, love it. Love it, love it, love it. So it's a telehealth company that I work for, and I do, I'm basically a care counselor, and then I do coaching as well. So I work off of, like, I have 2 different roles basically, depending on the client, on what they sign up for. So then around March, I'm like, I kept hearing in my spirit, like, it's time to go visit North Carolina. It's time to go visit North Carolina. It's time to go visit North Carolina. I just kept feeling that pulling on me. And so I spoke to my cousin and her husband. I'm like, all right, you know, I think it's time to visit. So we planned out a good timing that's good for the both of us, whatever. And I agreed to, well, they agreed to let me stay for 2 weeks. When I tell you they were my rock during this whole transition, OMG, they were my rock, y'all. My rock. Like, I don't know how I would have done it without them. Actually, I wouldn't have been able to do it without them. Like, for real, for real. Like, Abba was truly working through them. Like, it was just so beautiful and just so amazing. So I came to visit, and then the housing market was nuts. Like, every time something was online, it'll be gone within like 4 hours, gone in 45 minutes. Like, it was just ridiculous. And then a lot of the places, they, like, some of these places, they didn't do tours on the weekend. So that made some things a little constricting. So, which I was fine because my schedule was flexible a bit, but it was just a lot. It just really, really was a lot. And then I needed a certain stove because I pressure can for the business. And if I get a glass top stove, I can break it. And I'm like, because of the weight of the pressure, the canning pot with all the jars in it. So I literally had to, like, not skip out on places. I mean, skip out on some places just because of the stove. And my cousin was ready. She was like, nah, we're going to scratch and dent and get in the stove. Like, screw that, screw that. But I was just like, no, like, I don't know. I just felt like, no, I have to trust Abba. I have to trust Abba. Like, I can't take control of the situation, because the thing is like, I know how to take control of a situation. And I know I was trying to, like, get out of that. So I just continued to just keep looking. Then there was a few places that what was it? Winston-Salem, Greensboro, Burlington. I don't think High Point was on my radar yet. The first place that stuck out, because I knew, like, what my price range was, because Zillow, like, you could just put the state in. And so then that way, like, I was like, all right, good, cool. I wanted to be far enough that I can be, like, have my space and stuff like that. But, like, I wanted to be close enough to, so that way, be close to family. So, like, 2 hours away was my limit. I found all these places in Winston-Salem. Went back a few days later. Gone. Nothing available. Okay. So then I do the whole thing again. A lot of stuff in Greensboro was popping up. So I was like, all right, let me check it out. I didn't really like some of the, one of the areas that something was available. I didn't really care for that area. But then there was really nothing left to really check out there. So then, Burlington looked really nice. And there was a place that I found, and it wasn't that great. Well, it was nice, but it didn't speak to me. And my cousin, the one thing she kept saying, because the one thing I'll do is I used to settle. I used to have a habit of settling. I don't settle no more. But she kept checking me, and she was like, is it speaking to you? Like, does it make you happy? Like, how do you feel? You know, is this something that you really, really want? And I'm like, I feel like, oh, it's nice. And she's like, yep, then that's not the one. Like, she held me accountable, and I'm so appreciative to that, because I could have wound up in the wrong place. So then I was looking at the map, and I'm like, okay, there's a place called High Point. It's along that route. There was a few places available. When I tell y'all I connected with this area, I connected. The first house that I looked at, it was with the realtor. And the house was really, I mean, it was nice, whatever. And I remember stepping outside in the backyard and just really just taking in everything. And it was just like, oh my gosh, this is a reality. Like, I'm really out here looking to move. And the air just felt so fresh, like the sunlight beaming on my skin, the smell of the grass and the green. It was just beautiful. Like, just looking up at the sky, like, I don't know. And it felt peaceful. It sounded peaceful. I can hear nature. It was amazing. It was so amazing. I started to cry. And the lady was like, oh, you okay? And then my cousin's husband was like, she's fine, you know, she's just really happy, you know, how the Lord is moving in her life and blah, blah, blah. And, you know, so it was just, I was just so grateful. So, but that wasn't the place. It wasn't the place. This place. Well, this place obviously was the place, but I'm going to save that for another video because I don't want to make this too long. Because finding this place involves like a lot of detail, y'all, like a lot of details. Basically, it was like, yeah, it's wild how that happened. So, I went back. Let me see, it was going on like a week and a half, and I'm like, all right, I didn't really find nothing. But I decided at that point, I was like, I want to move to High Point. I knew it was High Point. I just knew at that point. So I said, you know what? I said, watch Abba have me go home. And I'm going to find something. And I'm going to have to take a leap of faith. Y'all, talk about calling it out. It's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. So, because at the same time, like, I didn't want to get frustrated in the process, because it's like, I came out here 2 weeks. Am I going to have to come back out here again? And it wouldn't have been no big deal, but running a business too, like, and I just appreciate everybody, you know, just being patient, because it was like, all right, I'm going on vacation. And then it was like, oh, no. Yeah. Because then it was like, I'm going on vacation, and then I had to leave again and all this other stuff. So it was just a lot. It was just a lot. So yeah, I get home, and, I'm still looking and stuff like that. And my cousin was like, there's anything that you want me to go look at, I can. So I was like, all right. And, yeah, actually, I need to backtrack. I just messed that whole thing up, y'all. I don't gotta backtrack too much. But before I left, actually, you know what? I'm gonna stop right there, because with the backtrack, it leads into the housing piece of things. So I'll catch y'all in the next video on that one. All right. But y'all have a good night.